وبركاته طلاب. Today we have chapter 12, the weak forms. The weak forms and the strong forms are very important chapter, let us say, and because in chapter 9, for example, we discussed the difference between the strong and the weak syllables. You remember that the weak syllables should involve or include vowels like e, u, schwa, etc., right? And the strong form, the strong syllables, etc. Now we move from the syllables to look at to the words. We consider well-known English words that can be pronounced in two different ways. Some words in English can be pronounced in two different ways. Some of them, or these are called the strong forms and the weak forms. For example, when I say the word that can be pronounced as that, the strong form, or that, which is the weak form. For example, when I say I like that, okay, strong form. But when I say I hope that you will be here, for example, I hope that we, or that she. So that becomes what? The weak form, that. Okay? So this is the weak and the strong form of this word. In English, there are 40 such words. Okay? And it is possible to use only the strong forms in speaking. Okay? Of course, it is okay. But usually, the learners should learn the strong and the weak forms of these words. Why? There are two main reasons. The first one is that most of the native speakers of English find all strong form of pronunciation unnatural. So the learner will find or wish to avoid being foreigner for the native speakers. This is one. The second reason also that the speakers who are not familiar with the use of weak forms are likely to have difficulty in understanding the native speakers, the speakers themselves. So in order to understand them, he himself should learn how to use the weak forms of certain words. This is point. The other point, that we have a difference. When I say the weak form, I do not intend to say, or I do not mean the contracted forms. The weak forms are different from the contracted forms. Contracted forms, for example, when I say it is not, I contract the form by what? Saying it is or it isn't. Okay, are not, aren't. So aren't, isn't, is what, or I have, sir, I've, for example, or we've. These are contracted forms. Contracted forms are different from what? The weak forms. Almost all the words which have both the strong and the weak forms belong to a category of words which are called function words. The strong والweak forms علما اللي الكلمات يسموها function words. Function words are the words such as the auxiliary verbs, preposition, conjunctions. They are not the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, the adverbs. No, they are what? They are auxiliary verb, prepositions, conjunctions, etc. So there are certain contexts where only the strong form is acceptable. We should know that. There are certain contexts, certain situations in which I should use the strong form of these words, and other situations, other environments, places that I should pronounce the weak form of this word. Of course, there are some fairly simple rules. Also, there are rules that enable us, تمكننا, where to put or pronounce the strong form and where should I or I should pronounce the weak form. Number 1, we have on page 89, we have the following cases. Case number 1. For many weak form words, when they occur at the end of the sentence, we should use what? The strong form. So when the weak forms or these words come at the end of the sentence, I should pronounce them in its or in their strong forms. For example, of. When I say I'm fond of chips, of, the weak form of, right? But when I pronounce or I put where or when it comes at the end of the sentence, no, I should use the strong form of. This is number 1. Number 2, when a weak form word is being contrasted with another word، لما يكون عندي contrast يعني ما بين مقارنة let's say ما بين one word and another, I should use also the strong form. For example, when I say the letter is from him, not to him, then from strong, to also is what? Is strong. A similar case لما يكون coordinated use. For example, when I say I travel to and from London. So here we have coordinated use. Number 3, when a weak form word is given stress for the purpose of emphasis, if I want or would like to emphasize this weak form or this word. For example, when I say you must give me more money. You must. When I emphasize must, I should put it or pronounce it in what? In a strong form. Number 4, when a weak form word is being cited or quoted. Okay, لما أنا أستشهد بها وآخذها يعني أنقلها. Here I should put it also at what? At its strong form. For example, when I say you shouldn't put and at the end of the sentence. And I quoted أخذتها اقتبستها. So and here I should pronounce it what? With its strong form. Okay? In the rest of this chapter, منا إلى نهاية الchapter, the most common weak form words will be introduced. احنا ذكرنا انه اكثر من 40 كلمة باللغة الانجليزية have what? Strong and weak forms. وقلنا اكو rules تساعدني شو وقت استخدم ال strong form وشو وقت استخدم ال weak forms. Number 1 لما تجي بنهاية الكلمة لازم استخدمها strong. Number 2 لما يكون اكو contrast. Okay? ولما يكون عندي given stress for the purpose of emphasis also I should use the strong. وعندي number 4 لما تكون الكلمة cited or quoted also I should put it what? In the strong form. فإذا راح يبدي لي من number 1 يجيني for example there كل كلمة ماما انتبهوا إلى strong form مالتها weak form. For example there we have the before consonants and we have the before the vowels. Okay, we have a and for example a لما نستخدمها before the consonants وان لما نستخدمها before the vowels. and عندي الان لما يكون يعني after الت والد والس والز والش sorry. For example when I say come and see. Okay, لما يكون عندي s بعد الآن يمكن أن تخفف إلى أن. For example fish and chips. نيجي على البات شنو الويك فورم مالتها؟ bat with شوا. Okay, الويك فورم. that شنو الويك فورم مالتها؟ that. Okay, than هي than. Okay, better than ever. his الويك فورم مالتها is. sometimes his لما نكون بداية الجملة his لازم ألفظ الها sound. Without it is pronounced like is. Take his name. Okay? Yeah. her يمكن أن تكون الويك فورم مالتها either شوا أو ER لما تكون before vowels. اليو okay يمكن الويك فورم مالتها yeah. Okay, or before vowels I use it re sound with it. So on your own, on your own, on your own. Okay? Yeah. 10, number 10, we have she, he, we, you. This group of pronouns has weak forms, pronouns with weaker vowels than the E, long E and U. Okay? Use the simple E only. يعني هو مو الإي طويلة أو الأو الطويلة وإن الweak form مالتها E. For example, she. Okay? She. Who is she? How is she? And he, sometimes I pronounce it E only, but if it is at the beginning of the sentence, no, I should use he sound. He. Okay? Which did he choose? Which did he choose, for example? بينما لما نكون بالبداية نقول he was late, wasn't he or wasn't it? Yeah. And then we have we also, you also, him. We have him, weak form مالته I've seen him. Leave him alone. Her, the weak form مالته or her لما يكون at the beginning of the sentence. For example, when I say ask her, okay, ask her to come, okay, or I've met her, not I've met her, no, I've met her, okay. Them also, we have them اللي هي الشوا, us also اللي هي خفيفة with الشوا. The next group of words اللي هي prepositions here or other function words occur in their strong forms when they are in the final position in the sentence. تتذكرون هذا الرول؟ إن هذه prepositions أو function words when they come at the end of the sentence I should use what? The strong form of these words. For example, at الweak form مالتها at with الشوا, لكن لما يكون بالfinal position I should use at. Also the weak form and the final position for. For example, when I say what's that for? بينما لما تكوني بوسط جملة مثلا T for two الشاي لي اثنين T for two. Okay. We have also from. Also إذا كانت final position I pronounce it as from. of مرت علينا الweak form مالتي of must of all and of لما تكون بالأخير I've heard of sometimes or someone I've heard of to the same قد تكون الweak form مالتها to before a consonant or to before a vowels لكن بالfinal position I pronounce it either with u long u or u خفيفة. Okay, I don't want to as أيضا الweak form مالتها as with الشوا but لما تكون بالfinal position راح أستخدمها as that's what it was sold as لأنه بالأخير. نجي إلى كلمة some. أيضا يمكن أن تكون in two different ways. طبعا some إذا كانت قبل countable noun قبل اسم معدود يعني معناها unknown individual راح نستخدم وياها الstrong form. مثلا أقول لك I think some animal broke it. some strong. some هنا معناها unknown individual, unknown animal. But when it is used before uncountable غير معدودة لما تكون unspecified amount يعني كمية غير معروفة من لا بهيجي حالة راح شو نستخدمها in such uses it has the weak form. استخدمها weak form. مثلا أقول لك have some more tea not some إنما some more tea. إذا قبل countable استخدمها with some the strong لكن قبل uncountable استخدمها بالweak form. بالfinal position طبعا ناخذها بالstrong form. نيجي إلى كلمة their demonstrative function طبعا the strong form تاخذ. Okay, مثلا for example there it is, put it there. Okay, but the weak form بالنسبة لها هي the لما تكون before consonant and there before vowels I put the re sound. In final position يا اما تكون the or the يعني with vowels. The remaining of the chapter, it deals with what? With the auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs اللي هم conjunctions, okay? It is important to remember that in their negative form, they never have the weaker pronunciation. This is important. For example, can, could, have, has, etc., should. All of these are what are conjunctions, or we call them auxiliary verbs. Okay? So here we, if I add the negative form or the not, let us say, not a particle to it, compound with not, they never have the weak pronunciation, okay? And some, for example, when I say don't, can't, have different vowels from their non-negative strong forms. We will see this. So let us go to the number 23, which is can and could. It's about can and could. The weak forms of these two auxiliary verbs, هي can and could. Can and could. For example, they can wait. They can wait. He could do it. He could do it. The final position, no, the strong form. We have can and could. For example, when I say most of them could. نيجي على الهاف والهاز والهاد. Of course the weak forms مالتهم انه الهي sound metalful and تتحول الى شوا with the, with the, with the. But if it has an initial position, if it comes, at the beginning of the sentence, no, I should pronounce he, الهي sound with it. Okay? For example, which have you seen? Which have you seen? Okay? Which has been best? Which is, not has, is. Most had gone home. In final position, no, the strong form. نستخدم have, has, had. Okay. بالنسبة للشال والشuld, we have shall or without الشوا and should. The final position, the strong, let us say, way of saying or pronouncing these two words or auxiliary verbs, we use it as shall and should. So you should. I think we shall. Okay? Concerning must, this word is sometimes used with the sense of forming a conclusion. Okay? So when must is used like this or in this way, so it less likely to occur in its weak form. It is used in what? When it is being used in a familiar sense of obligation. So when I say, for example, before consonant, I use it as what? The weak form. Mess, not must, mess. You must try harder. And before vowels, I put the t sound. In final position, I should use what? Must. Okay? Yeah. So must, if we have said that if it is used to form a conclusion, so it is less likely to occur in its weak form. فإذا على الأغلب تجيني وين؟ بالstrong form. Yes. And بالنسبة concerning do and does, the weak form is de. For example, why did they like it? Or do before vowels and does with the schwa. But in the final position, you will see that we can pronounce them as do and does. Do and does. For example, I think John does. I think John does. Final position. Some people do. Some people do. Do. Final position in a strong form of this word. Concerning am, are, was, and were, we have also here the weak forms, and in the final position we have what? The strong forms. The weak forms of am is am. For example, when I say, why am I here? Why am I here? And before vowels, I put re sound, of course. and before consonant I can use a only, the schwa. Was is pronounced as wez with schwa, and sometimes without z sound before consonants if I have consonants. And where if I have a vowel sound after it. The questions were easy. The questions were easy. Okay, were easy. I put re sound because I have easy, the vowel e. In final position, no, I have the strong forms. I have am, and I have are, and I have was, and I have were. Okay, here you have the four examples about these four auxiliary verbs. We have she's not as old as I am. Okay, I know the Smiths are. The last record was they weren't as good as we. They weren't as cold, as we. Okay, so here we have were as we were is the strong form of were. Okay, so in this chapter 12, we notice that there are certain words which are called function words. Okay, the function words can involves what? Includes what? Auxiliary verbs, prepositions, conjunctions. Only they have two forms. واحدة منهم strong and the other is weak. We have four rules for where can I say them the strong forms of these words, or where I can use the weak forms. Number 1 لما يكونوا final position. Number 2 لما يكون عندي contrast. Number 3 لما يكون عندي purpose of emphasis for example. And number 4 لما يكونوا be excited or quoted. We have nearly 40 words. Here you have it. You have them, in this chapter. Most of them are very important for you to know the strong and the weak forms. In the exercise or in the written exercise on page 95, here the transcription of the weak form words is left blank. So here we have fill in the blanks, taking care to use the appropriate form, the weak or the strong. فهنا عندنا جمل تخلون لي فقط بالترانسكريبشن انطوني هذه الوردز هل هي بالويك فورم مالتها ولا السترونج فورم. عندي رولز اني واذا كانت ويك كيف تلفظ لما تكون سترونج كيف تلفظ. هذه النقاط اللي you should pay attention to them. And this is the end of chapter 12. Thank you very much and goodbye.